Hello everyone, I'm Denise, and today I want to share with you how to use the Winsor & Newton Granulation Medium. It's a super cool additive that you can use with your watercolors to make them granulate. We'll do some small samplers to see how much of a difference it makes, and then I'm going to turn one of mine into a little abstract piece of art. If you love this stuff and you're a color swatcher, definitely do all of your colors to see how each one reacts. I hope you enjoyed today's painting practice, and I can't wait to see what you're creating. I thought it would be fun to test out something new to me. I've got some Winsor & Newton Granulation Medium, and if you followed my channels or been in any of my art classes, you know that I love watercolor to bloom and texture and granulate, and I like to add salt to it, and I like for the watercolor to move around. I'm not looking for smooth traditional looks in my watercolor. And you know, you got the best of friends when they show up at your birthday and they're like, look what I found, you need it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I do need that. So we are going to give this granulation medium a little run for its money and see what it does. And I thought while I was experimenting, I would just experiment with you guys. So I've got Winsor & Newton Granulation Medium, and it works a bit like water. And I've just poured a little bit of this granulation medium into a little pot, just a little container, because it works basically like water, but it makes that watercolor separate and granulate and give you variations, and so I'm really excited to see how it's going to work. So I searched through all my Daniel Smith colors because I needed one that didn't granulate already. So I looked on the Daniel Smith watercolor site and looked at the pigment characteristics of their watercolors. They have a chart on there, and indigo is a color that does not granulate already. And the reason why I was looking for one that did not granulate already, because I want to do a comparison test, one with water and one with the granulation medium, and just see what are we going to get and how different does that make our watercolor look. So you just put a little bit of that out, way too much put out. That's going to live on that palette until I use it up. That's why I love these little ceramic palettes. This is a little hors d'oeuvre platter that I got at TJ Maxx, and you can look around for pretty white ceramic pieces for your watercolor palettes, and they're fantastic. So I'm going to be experimenting on the Canson Heritage 140-pound cold press paper. And I've just taken a 9 by 12 sheet and cut that into 4s just to give me some smaller sampler sizes. And I'm really going to do at least 2. I've got my favorite paintbrush, which is the number 0 Raphael Soft Aqua mop brush. I love this. And then I do have a couple other things kind of sitting around on my table. I've got water, and I've got when I'm done with the watercolor piece itself, I might want to turn this into its own little abstract. I love making color swatches and samplers into a little art piece, so I thought I might just finish off with some stenciling, maybe some marks, and just make it pretty when we're done. So all I've done is taken a little bit of this wet medium and just poured it right into my little container. And if you keep it clean, like you don't dip paint color back into that, you could put that into a container and save it. I'm not sure I would dump it back into the original container because it's really hard to not contaminate that with, say, even just water from your paintbrush. But in this exercise, I'm going to do one with water, one with granulation medium, and use the granulation medium basically as water. So the one with water, I'm just going to put some in my paintbrush and just kind of maybe paint an abstract shape. And I liked testing this out on this cotton paper because I tend to use this cotton paper for all kinds of stuff, and since it's a paper that I know I'm going to use a lot, I like doing my testing and my different playing around with it on papers that I actually am going to use. If you do all your testing on, say, your cheap paper, and then you go to make your masterpiece on your good paper, it's not going to react the same. It's not going to have the same look. You're not going to have the same feels. It's just not going to do what you want. And this is a not granulating color, but I do like to add texture into my watercolors. And so I'm going to do the one with water when it's not sopping wet, kind of damp, but not dry. You can come back in here and make these kind of balloon out and texturize just by dipping a little bit of water in there. That doesn't really granulate it. It just kind of makes it balloon out. So let's try that. And then dry that brush out so that we're not using tons of water. We're using this medium as the water. And back into the indigo. And let's just see what the difference is. So that's actually quite a bit. And see, I'm contaminating that stuff, but that's okay. Because this was just trying to figure this stuff out. And I want to move this around and kind of use it just like I might use that water and see like, how is it different? What are we going to get? And I can already see that it actually seems to be a little thicker than water maybe, or I don't know, it reacts differently to the paper. You can really see on this, I got a more even coverage, and this allowed me to really separate that out even better. Look at the difference on that. And I'm gonna kind of let that dry a tad and dip this medium on here. Just like I did the water. So let's just wash that brush out a little. I'm loving what that's doing right there. I mean, I already love how just the two different mediums reacted to the paper to make that color do its thing. So a little bit into the medium, and I'm going to go ahead and do some daps just like I did here, making the watercolor balloon a little bit, and just see like, what does that do? Oh, I do love experimenting with art supplies and playing with new things and seeing like, what does this do? Almost better than I like making like some great masterpiece of art, which is why a lot of my art classes center around play and experimenting and just seeing like, what would this do if? I love that. That could be my mantra. What could this do? I mean, I can already see, look at this as it's drying. I can already see the differences that medium has created in the two pieces. Ha ha ha! All right, so we're gonna let this dry after you kind of get that on there. Let that dry, and then I'll be right back to compare these, and then I might turn that into a finished piece. So I'll be back. Check this out. These are dry. I've let them completely dry. I want you to resist using your heat gun on them so that you really get the true feel and effect. But look at the difference in the water with the non-granulating watercolor versus adding the granulation medium in instead of water with our watercolor. And I used indigo because it's a non-granulating color. I had to look up which one of my colors was non-granulating because most of them from Daniel Smith are. But look at how amazing that difference is with the depth, the movement, the pattern, the way that the color ballooned out where I put the medium versus the one that's more solid without the granulating characteristics. I feel like I now need a gallon of this. I was playing a little tiny bit with this on some colors that already granulated, and I thought, I'm not getting the real feel here on what this medium actually does. So I think if you use it with a color that kind of already granulates, it's just going to magnify that a little bit. But holy cow, doing it on a color that doesn't granulate really brings this out. And you know, the Schminky super granulating watercolors are some of my favorite. I think it's just because it says super granulating. And now I think every color can be a super granulating color with this medium. Super fun. And because I now love this so much, I'm going to go ahead and finish it as a little abstract, and I'm just going to speed through so you can just watch me finish it. And then I can't wait to see what you try with this granulating medium, because that was super fun. And I'm just going to use my favorite mica paste to make some marks and maybe do a teeny bit of stenciling and just kind of make this a finished little abstract because it's gorgeous. And now I can't wait to use this medium on everything that I paint. right, check out how fun that is. I love making abstracts out of things that granulate, and they give you extra marks and extra dimension and extra things that you see when you get in close, and then coming back on top and just doing some fun mark making with your favorite marks or your favorite pencils or your favorite Posca pen or your favorite gold paint like I like to do, and just see like what can I make today. This was super fun, giving a test out to the super granulating mix, which is the Winsor Newton Granulation Medium. Really cool the effect that it'll give into your watercolors. So hope you liked seeing the difference that added and how that worked, and I'll see you next time.